Hey guys, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank, another round of comic chat. So real quick, where was last week's video? Well, last week was my birthday, and since work has also been just trying to kill me, I decided, like, you know what, let's just take that day, we'll take a breather. There was also like one book, and I was like, no, no, we're not doing that. So we wait another week. We decided to start some work on some other projects. Our next "Who Should Kill the Joker" video is is in the work. We took a while to find someone who, the trick to that series is trying to think of not the obvious. We'll get to the obvious. Your Red Hoods and your Harleys, and make the best argument for them. But really, it's so boring. Ultimately, we all know why they should. But let's find some fun here. Let's go to somewhere. Let's go somewhere else, like some dude with a teddy bear or something. Go from there. Hint, hint. But anyway. So we've got three books. The theme this week seemed to be the Man from Krypton. Pretty much, like everything here was Superman related, which is nice. So the first one is Superman issue 3, part of the Dawn of DC, Night of the Parasite. This is the conclusion of the story of Parasite just running rampant in the DC universe, and I love it. I love it. All right. So anyway. So, if you last recall, Superman found out that Parasite was breaking and multiplying into smaller pieces, some that even were able to enter Superman's body on a microscopic level. So now people are like Parasite zombies and going in. He's going into Lex like, Lex like, yeah, now you show up. Okay, all right, I gotta find a way out of this. All right, so you, Livewire, all right? So here's the thing. We're gonna hook you up to this machine, and you're gonna charge up, and that will attract all the parents, even pull them out of Superman, and we'll go from there. Livewire like, why me? Because you want to be special, and now we're gonna make you special. All right, get in the chair. All right, so she gets in the chair. It works. It's sapped out, and Superman has to put on a special suit. A suit he usually wears when he fights something like Parasite. And luckily, that also attracts Rudy, the original host for Parasite. He's like, there it is. There's food, because he really likes the energy in Superman. So that's always sort of a buffet in itself. So then, we got a little fight going on. And what's funny about this is how we actually win this. So Superman's like, look, Rudy, we can keep fighting, but all these other parasites that I need you to take in, they've all had a bunch of other energy. Not some of mine, some from Livewire, some from the everyday people of Metropolis. So you're so hungry, take them back in and feast. And Rudy's like, I'm in, do it. And yeah, this is what he looks like now. And it's kind of hilarious. And Lex is able to knock Rudy out because it's easier to keep Rudy under control if he is, unconscious. Actually, he'll revert back to normal if I'm not mistaken. So next morning, everyone acts like, hey, nothing weird's happened. Lois and Clark make out, at work, and they have a conversation about whether or not they can trust Lex. And Lois is like, so there's a good bet that Lex gave you his company because he knew you wouldn't take it, or he wants you to take it. He wants you to take it, but he knows you won't take it, so the best way to get you to take it is to offer it to you so you won't take it, and then she's like, you know what, this is crazy, what are we going to do? He also talked about the mysterious lady they saw, so there's that. There's a whole bunch of interesting mysteries coming in here. And so then we see Superman meeting up with Lex in prison, and it's a nice scene, sort of harkens back to the Superman animated series, where every now and then Superman would meet Lex outside of his building, like, hey, stop being a dick. And Lex would be like, no. And they go from here, and really Superman's like, okay, so you know what, if we're going to make this work, fine, I'll take the company, or so I'll take Supercore. And he gives him like this watch, like, look, okay, whatever's coming, I'll give you the shot. So, stop whispering in my ear. It's creepy. Take the watch. Go from there. And Superman's like, we're going to make Supercore stand for something, and we're going to go from there. And we think this would end, but as Lex points out, there are enemies from his past coming that they need to be ready to deal with, that Superman isn't ready for. And so, yeah, the comic ends with us meeting again with Dr. Farm. It was a big farm. Dr. Farm, the joke is it's Big Farm. Like, yes, we knew Lex would tell Superman about this, but he's not ready for what we've got so far. He's got Bizarro's head in a jar. I'm like, who would do that? And was that Silver Banshee? Oh, okay. Weird combo, maybe. What's Bizarro's head have to do with this? All right, but anyway, that's how the comic ends. So ultimately, I think the end of this was good. I think the best part about it is we don't have Superman just punching his way through. He had to use his head. I think a big misconception with Superman is when people mistake him for Goku, they're thinking of the ideas what Superman can outpunch or, muscle his way through. That really isn't what he likes to do. He likes to use his head, find an alternative solution, talking to Parasite, talking to Rudy, and finding out, hey, Rudy, just take all your stuff back in, and you can eat. Because really, Rudy's not here to prove he's the strongest or anything. He just has this problem where he has to feed on energy. So, we do that, and there we go. Ultimately, really fun. Really interesting start. I think this is a good story for Joshua Williamson. Now we'll just see how it goes with the next one. Your first story is always like sort of dipping the toe in, bringing the audience in. And outside of his events, namely, Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, I got to do it again. I think he's done all right. I think he's done all right too, either great or just all right. So we'll see where we go from this. Next, we have part 2 of Superman Lost. And this story, especially this issue here, is pretty interesting because it deals with sort of the immediate aftermath of his return. Or at least close enough to it. So, Lois is talking to Bruce, and she's been kind of passive-aggressive. She's still mad about what happened. And when she goes in to see Clark before she leaves, he's forgetting to breathe again because he's still not in that mode. He's still not over whatever happened to him was that intense that there are days when he forgets to breathe. And that's a weird thing with Superman because sometimes Kryptonians don't need to breathe. So maybe he's just so conditioned to breathing to be normal that it affects him. Or maybe in this story, he does need to breathe. It's weird. We can't really make it make sense because Superman's powers rarely make sense. But anyway. So, pretty much cut off right where he left off. He's in space, lost, and he gets picked up by some aliens who are pretty hilarious. They're like, oh, look, wreckage. All right, let's see if we can find something to sell here. All right, no. This is turning out to be a waste of time. Look, a body. That cape is nice. All right, so let's at least take the cape. All right, let's go. And they're like, oh, crap, he's alive. All right, I think he needs to breathe. All right, so put some oxygen in here. Like, oh, wrong combo. He's like nitro, like carbon based. All right, put that stuff in there. All right, so what happened? He tells him about what happened about the ship. Like, dude, what? What do you mean you came through on a black hole? That makes no sense. Okay, weird, stupid. All right, and so it's even funny. Like, okay, so what do we do then? All right, so I need you to get me home. Like, all right, it's gonna cost some credits. Like, I don't have any credits. Like, oh, we'll take the cape. I can't give you the cape. I'm gonna give him the cape. So they kicked him off the ship. They just dropped him right there on this other planet. Like, yeah, bye. We're not doing this. It is sort of like that moment, unable to depend on the kindness of strangers. Also shows you how far out Superman is. Because think about it. Superman has saved other planets before. The Justice League is known throughout a good portion of the universe. You think if also he'd mentioned the Green Lantern Corps, but that would solve this problem, and so it makes sense he doesn't get a chance to. He's still disoriented from going into a black hole. So yeah, we go there. So he ends up on this planet, and instead of multiple suns or any suns, it has 2 moons. You're like, my powers don't work with the moon. I need that girl from Superman comic. Call Joshua Williamson. But anyway. So he tries to fly, can't quite do it, ends up in this weird sort of city where everyone's wearing a mask, looks like they're stuck on a phone. Oh, weird. Okay, fun little social commentary there. And apparently, as Clark tries to talk to him, he takes it. Turns out the gas here is so toxic that if you that their mask doubles as an oxygen machine, a ventilator. So also apparently the phones do too. So yeah, this is weird. So he tries to get Gizmo like, okay, I should probably go. He tries to fly off, like gravity's too heavy, so he's trying to figure it out. Okay, I got it. I think I got it. And he sees a sign and says, I don't think it says welcome Superman or even welcome Clark. I should probably just keep going. So he goes through past the wall and he comes across farmland. And I think Clark is like, yes, I know this stuff. All right, so he goes down there, talks to the dude. Dude says his name is Victor, or at least that's how it's roughly pronounced. And really talking about, hey, what's going on with this planet? And, why is it good here, not good there? It's like, ultimately, this all comes down to him going like, yeah, so there's some problems here, um, pretty big problems, and I think Clark realizes somewhat similar to Earth, and Krypton's like, well, maybe I can help. You get me off world here. I'm trying to help, and he's like, dude, our problems are way too big for one dude to come here and think he can solve them. All right, just wherever you need to go, I'll see if I can help you get there. Just go. We'll fix it ourselves. Which I thought was an interesting take because I think the big question we're all having is, was it just that long a journey, or did he get held up somewhere? I think really Clark would stop whatever he's doing if he felt that this planet could be helped, or if they needed his help. The way Victor's talking is like, no, we're sort of like in the process, or these problems are too big for just one stranger to come in. And Superman probably really does want to get home. So he's like, if there was like some oppressive dude here, someone, muscling his way in, I'd definitely stand in and help. But it seems like you just fucked around and found out with the environment. So, I can't really buy. And so he goes. Ultimately, this issue was more weird than anything because I didn't know what to expect, which is always a good feeling. Like, I didn't know we'd go this route. One would think, is this a plan by somebody? Was it already orchestrated? Did Lex plan this knowing that Superman would be willing to sacrifice himself, or would be the one to go into the black hole reactor and just be teleported off? Or was it just an honest accident? And the question is, why did it take 20 years for him? And what was he doing those 20 years? So it looked like he was just trying to get home those 20 years. So that's interesting because you see other stories where it doesn't take long for Superman to fly from one of the galaxy to the other, but then we saw that whatever happened in the black hole, as well as being on the planet with no actual proper sun, seems to have affected his powers too. So we're getting a lot of good reasons why it took so long, just in terms of the situation he's in. So that's always good. Because you always want a reason other than, well, because we said so. Like, no, there's an in-story reason why he took him so long. So that's great. That was fun. And now we have an interesting one here to further end our Krypton week, is Superboy. This was part of a poll on Twitter. And the discussion like, what story do you want us to do next? Which, they should probably do more of those. Let the people tell you what they want to read, since you're not listening to what they're buying. So, whatever. And I like this story because it does sort of address the elephant in the room here. Connor, there's no point to Connor being in the DC universe anymore, at least in Metropolis. So he's trying to help out, standard villain. Dr. Polaris coming in. Polaris, man, we haven't seen you matter since what? Green Lanterns? Sam Humphries' Green Lanterns in the early days of DC Rebirth. Was it early? I think it was like the third or fourth story, like the third story. So, yeah, he's coming in ready to help out. And as he's ready to, do the thing, like John, Kara, and Clark show up. So Superman, Supergirl, and sometimes Superboy, but mostly Superman shows up. So it's like, oh, all right, we've already got 3 Kryptonians. And I don't know why. They all just like, yep, we all just hang around Metropolis, waiting to cock block here. I'm like, why? Why are you being this way? And really, it helps Connor sort of realize that, he doesn't belong. It has to be even worse for Connor because, where Supergirl is Superman's biological cousin, which is a weird thing. It's like, his, Jor-El's uncle is, Kara's father. So, there's a family there. John is his biological son with Lois. Connor is a clone that's part him and part Lex Luthor. All right. He already is kind of an outsider in himself. And here in this Metropolis where, I think he always thought he was the third member, while he was gone, basically forgotten by the DC Universe along with the rest of Young Justice, the family moved on without him. Like, everyone's got different costumes, kind of, sort of, but not really. Kara's wearing pants. There's a new Superboy, or Superman. So even the legacy's already been passed on without him. There was no role he got to play in any of that. And it's sad in a lot of ways, especially because they've already formed this bond and he's just sort of not part of it. It does sort of speak to another problem of the DC Universe. When New 52 came in and just removed Connor from continuity, along with Wally and Bart, trying to, and it's credit to the story for addressing this in its own way. So he goes, to talk to Mom and Pa Kent, who he'd really just gone to Metropolis to get coffee for. And he's like, "You need help getting coffee?" I'm like, "It's coffee. I don't need help to get coffee." All right, granted, I ended up in a fight with Dr. Polaris, and I did spill my coffee, but, I can get coffee. So now he's trying to figure out, where he belongs, where he can go, where he's needed. So he goes to the fortress, has Kellex like, "Look, all right, Kellex, I need you to find a disaster for me to go to." So they find one on some unknown planet. He's like, "Yeah, you know what? That's where we're going." And to John's credit, this is a planet, was it Drago or Brack? I forget the planet's name. All right, oddly enough, it's on the screen, but it's like right there and I can't see. But anyway, so he goes in, he's ready to help. And so he's met with these sort of weird sort of clones. Actually, they're experiments made by, I think they're called the Dominators, which is, I think, also a Doctor Who enemy. But anyway, they have created these sort of, and they've engineered these enemies, or these enemies, so these sort of monsters or fighters based off of Earth superheroes. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. All right. And so Connor gets to throw down with knockoff superheroes. And he goes in. We see exactly how capable Connor is on his own, which I think we all kind of knew or kind of figured, because we've seen him fight with groups with Young Justice. We've seen him fight with, besides Superman. So, yeah, and we've also seen him get killed by Superboy. But anyway, so it's an alright fight. We see some interesting abilities, namely watching him go through the trauma of his life. And it's like, oh, we remember the trauma, but not the rest of it. Okay, fine, sure. Thanks, DC. And really what he's doing is waiting for as many of the survivors to get away so he can really let loose with the tactile telekinesis and the energy, sort of go all out. And he does a really good job. All right. But even then, they respond with, like, you know what? Drop the entire armada on him. Like, oh, that's not very nice. And they drop on him, like, okay, I got heat vision, like, all right, I may have bitten off more than I can chew. All right, okay, trouble. But then, luckily, top of the hour, all right, he is saved by a group called, the Cosmeteers. And I'm like, this looks like a Diet Guardians of the Galaxy. Screw it, do it. And that's how the comic ends. So, ultimately, Superboy issue 1, I think, is alright. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of the setup of Fitzmartin's Young Justice. The fact that, hey, what do we do? What is this forgotten era of DC heroes get to do? What does Cassie Sandsmark do, when her mentor, Wonder Woman's gone, and her friend Donna Troy goes off somewhere else, and Yara Flora gets to be the new Wonder Woman. So there's nothing for her to do, so she hangs out with her team Young Justice, and even they don't really want to really be together. It's actually really sad in its own way. Then you have, Tim, who's like the only member of Young Justice who really seems to have like a future, but even his future is sort of not set. Like, no one knows what to do with Tim in the Bat Family anymore. And then you have Bart, who's also legit came back after the events of Young Justice, under Brian Michael Bendis, which I've tried, I can't. And Superboy. So the question is, what do we do with Connor? Like, so sending him out into space, yeah, it feels like a cop-out. Pretty much what happened to Jason in Wonder Woman. Like, Diana's brother, like, well, Diana, I guess I'll just fly off into space, never to come back. But Connor gets a book about him going off into space. So, there's that. Ultimately, I'm interested. I'm not in love with it, but I want to see where it goes. All right? Maybe, hey, they'll miss Connor. Maybe they're like, you know what? Maybe all three of us didn't have to go and fight Dr. Polaris. Seemed like Connor had it, Maybe all three of us, maybe 4 superheroes, maybe 4 Kryptonians don't need to be in Metropolis at the same time. All right, maybe. Who knows? Anyway, with that in mind, this brings me to close here. If you're new to the Bucket Think Tank, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe, all the fun algorithm things, and I will catch you all later. This is Bucket Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching. As always, may your fandom serve you well.